Hello, everyone. I'm Riley King, and welcome to my news report right here on the Riley King Network. Let's begin. Wildlife officials don't feed the deer this winter. New Hampshire Fish and Game officials are warning Granite Staters not to feed deer this winter. Officials said residents may notice larger groups of deer and a change in the animals' activity patterns. Although you may feel bad for deer and want to help, the Fish and Game Department would like to remind the public to please not feed deer. Fish and Game deer biologist Dan Bergeron said, "While most people who feed deer are well intentioned, they may not realize that there are a number of negative consequences to their actions. Feeding deer the wrong type of food or feeding at the wrong time can directly lead to their sickness and death." Officials said 12 deer were found dead in 2015 in Southampton after being improperly fed. Deer process food differently than other animals, and depending on microorganisms in their stomach to aid in digestion. As a deer's diet naturally and gradually changes with the season, so do the microorganisms that are required to help digest those foods. The gradually change in microorganisms can take several weeks, and a rapid transition from a high-fiber diet of naturally woody browse to human-provided foods high in carbohydrates can cause a rapid change in their stomach chemistry, disputing the microorganism present, officials said. This can reduce the deer's ability to properly digest food or cause the release of toxins which are absorbed into the deer's system. Many of the most common supplement foods people provide deer with in the winter are high in carbohydrates, and when introduced rapidly and in large quantities, these foods create a risk for deer. This is precisely what caused the death of the 12 deer in Hampton in 2015, Bergeron said. But the biggest reasons not to feed the deer, they simply don't need the help, even in the winter, officials said. Bergeron said deer have several involuntary adaptations to survive severe winters and do not require supplement food. Deer have highly insulative winter coat to keep them warm. They can also store large amounts of food in body fat to use as energy reserves and will intermittently reduce their food intake and daily activity to conserve energy. The animal also migrates to specialized habitats known as deer yards, Bergeron said. Since over 80% of the state's forest land is privately owned, much of Fish and Game's management of their habitat is done through cooperative agreement with land owners. Officials said feeding deer put management effort at risk by drowning deer out of their wintering habit and removing their incentive for private landowners to conserve and manage deer yards on their property. Conservative in management of natural winter habits is a key to long-term survival of deer in the state, not the placement of human-provided food source. Officials said residents in northern New Hampshire should be particularly concerned about disease transmission from deer feeding, given the recent discovery of chronic wasting disease in Quebec. If this disease crosses the border into the Granite State, congestion of deer at winter feeding sites would create an effective way for the disease to spread more rapidly throughout the state, Fish and Game officials said. Since the disease is always fatal and incredibly, this would have a devastating impact on the Granite State deer's population. Reporting live here in Deerfield, New Hampshire, outside the Riley King Network studio and headquarters. Reporting in the woods, I'm Riley King. I hope you enjoyed this news report. Goodbye, everyone.